Have you ever felt like you were reaching for someone who kept vanishing close one moment, distant the next, leaving you questioning your worth in the silence they left behind? Some people don't reject love because they don't want it. They reject it because it terrifies them. And yet they expect you to keep chasing. In this video, we'll explore how truly secure individuals break free from this quiet manipulation, not through revenge, but through clarity, restraint, and unshakable self-respect. If you've ever been caught in that cycle, stay with me. What you're about to hear might change everything. 1. The avoidance pattern. Fear disguised as distance. Let's talk about the kind of person who always seems to run when closeness arrives, the one who draws you in with a quiet charm, then disappears the moment connection starts to deepen. It feels personal. It feels cruel. But here's the truth that Stoic wisdom teaches us: their behavior says more about the war they're fighting within than anything about your worth. What you're witnessing is not rejection, it's fear disguised as detachment. An avoidant doesn't flee because they lack emotion. Ironically, it's often the opposite. The more they feel, the more terrified they become. To them, love is not a gift, it's a risk. And where there is risk, there is vulnerability. Their vanishing act isn't a statement of your insufficiency, but of their inability to sit still in the presence of emotional intensity. They've learned, often through painful experiences, that intimacy precedes pain. So they run. Not because they don't care, but because caring too much feels like standing on the edge of a cliff without a railing. Now here's where it becomes a quiet game, a pattern as old as time. They pull away. You, perhaps fueled by hope, rush in to close the distance. You sacrifice, accommodate, reach, and chase, thinking your consistency might soothe their anxiety. But every time you pursue, you unknowingly confirm the very belief they're running from, that closeness leads to loss of control. That love demands self-sacrifice, that to be loved is to be suffocated. And so the more you give, the more they retreat. It's a cruel paradox, one you didn't create, but one that traps you all the same. Stoicism offers a way out, not through confrontation, not through pleading, but through stillness, through strength. The Stoic doesn't chase affection, nor does he run from rejection. He remains centered, anchored, aware of what he can control and what he cannot. When someone creates distance, the untrained mind assumes fault. It scrambles to fix. But the Stoic understands people withdraw for their own reasons, and those reasons are rarely within your reach to heal. You see, avoidants often convince themselves of a lie to ease their departure. You're too much. This connection is too fast. Or worse, you're not worth holding on to. It's a story they tell themselves to justify their retreat, to protect the fragile wall between their need for love and their terror of it. They cannot face the truth that they are afraid, so they paint you as the problem, but don't let that narrative seep into your spirit. Their discomfort is not your failure. Their withdrawal is not your indictment. It is a mirror showing you their limits, not your inadequacy. Many who are drawn to avoidance are naturally more open, more emotionally expressive, more willing to invest and repair. And in this imbalance, a silent suffering begins. You begin to question your instincts, your worth, your stability. But here's the Stoic reality. No amount of overgiving will ever stabilize someone who hasn't yet found peace within themselves. No force, no love, no sacrifice will substitute the inner clarity they've yet to cultivate. You can't carry someone through the storm if they refuse to acknowledge it's even raining. So what do? You stop playing the game. You stop rushing in when they pull away. You stop trying to decode silence. You stop believing that love must be earned through sacrifice. And instead, you anchor yourself in self-respect. The Stoic doesn't argue with avoidance. He doesn't beg for emotional crumbs. He simply recognizes the limits of the other and withdraws with dignity. Remember, what you tolerate, you teach. Every time you chase someone who runs, you teach them that disappearing works, that love will always wait, that you will shrink so they can feel safe. and over time, your spirit dims. But when you hold your center, when you no longer bend to fear or fantasy, the game breaks. You create a new standard, one of peace, clarity, and emotional self-sovereignty. They may not understand your silence. They may interpret your stillness as indifference. But it is not indifference, it is power. It is the art of knowing your value and no longer arguing for it. It is the wisdom of knowing that closeness without safety is a house built on sand. That true connection does not require you to abandon yourself. Let them go if they must. Not out of bitterness, but out of reverence for yourself. You cannot force someone to see the beauty of emotional intimacy if their heart is still in hiding. You cannot convince someone of your worth if they are too afraid to accept their own. And most of all, you cannot rescue someone from themselves. The Stoic path is not to chase what flees. It is to remain steady in the face of emotional volatility. It is to trust that truth will reveal itself with time and that nothing rooted in fear will ever blossom into peace. At the end of the day, the game ends, not when they return, but when you stop playing. And in that moment, you reclaim the only thing they truly feared, losing your power. 2. Step back, not down. The strength in non-reaction. What happens when you stop playing the game? When you no longer dance to the rhythm of withdrawal and pursuit, that is the moment you stop reacting and start responding. A person rooted in inner clarity and the discipline of self-respect does not chase those who retreat. They do not plead for presence, nor do they strive to convince someone of their worth. Instead, they meet distance with distance, not out of pride, but out of principle. This is the quiet strength of the Stoic. If someone steps away, they do not follow. They step back as well, not to punish, but to protect their own peace. This is the shift from emotional dependence to sovereign detachment. A secure individual does not knock endlessly on a door that has been closed. They do not break themselves open to be let back in. They let silence speak. Their posture says, "Everything, I respect your need for space, and I honor myself enough to do the same." And in that very moment, something profound happens. The person who always counted on your return finds themselves in a foreign place, alone, not abandoned, but unpursued, not rejected, but unmet. And that silence, it isn't just emptiness. For the avoidant, it becomes a mirror, a still, unwavering surface that reflects not you, but them. Their story begins to unravel. The comfort of being pursued is gone. The emotional chase they relied upon vanishes. And in its place is stillness, undisturbed, unmoved, unbothered. This silence doesn't accuse, it reveals. It allows the consequences of their actions to confront them without interference. You no longer buffer them from reality. You no longer offer the balm of your understanding. They are left with the echo of their own decision. You see, those who withdraw often act under the illusion that they'll always be wanted, always be followed. Their sense of comfort is tied to the belief that if someone truly cares, they'll fight endlessly to stay close. They believe that love means being pursued, no matter how many walls they build. But when you do not climb those walls, when you choose to stand still, rather than beg for re-entry, the contradiction pierces their logic. If love is something to escape, why does the absence of it feel so hollow? If you were a burden, why does the space you've left behind feel heavier than your presence ever did? And that's where doubt begins to bloom. Not because you punished them, not because you manipulated the dynamic, but because you didn't. You simply chose yourself. And that, for someone used to being chased, is deeply unsettling. In the silence, they begin to question the narrative they've always told themselves. Was the other person truly dependent on them, or were they simply kind? Were they truly irreplaceable, or have they just been replaced by peace? Was this distance a victory or a mistake? Let us not confuse this with a strategy to evoke regret. That is not the Stoic way. A grounded soul does not pull back to provoke guilt. They pull back because they understand the value of their presence. They do not remain where they are not valued. They do not offer endless proof of their worth. Instead, they remove themselves with quiet dignity, not as a tactic, but as a truth. They have chosen to stop offering themselves to someone who does not recognize the gift. And paradoxically, it is this very act of stepping away, not in anger, not in desperation, but in stillness, that carries the most weight. Because it signals that your love was not born of need. It was a choice, and choices can be withdrawn. The absence of reaction becomes a signal of strength, not coldness. The refusal to chase becomes a sign of wisdom, not withdrawal, and in that restraint lies your power. The Stoics taught that we cannot control others, we can only control our responses. In refusing to run after someone who walked away, you are not punishing them. You are choosing peace over performance. You are embodying the principle that what does not respect you does not deserve the burden of your effort. The more you practice this quiet withdrawal, the clearer it becomes. You don't have to match chaos with chaos. You can simply return to yourself. And here's the unexpected truth: when you stop chasing, they begin to see you, not as desperate, not as overly invested, but as someone with value, real value. A value that no longer needs to prove itself to be real. And that realization does not arrive with your words, it arrives in your silence. They look back expecting to see you there, and they find only space. And it is in that space that regret begins. But again, that regret is not your goal. Your goal is peace. Your task is integrity. And your compass is self-respect. You are not reacting to provoke. You are responding to what is. If someone cannot meet you in truth, you do not meet them in pretense. You simply stop extending yourself where no roots will grow. And so the game ends, not with anger, not with drama, but with clarity. You chose yourself, and that is the one move the avoidant never expected. Because they never imagined you had the strength to walk away from what you once reached for. But you do, you always did. And now they know it too. 3. Choose yourself. Break free from their cycle. There comes a point in the life of every grounded individual when the need for approval dissolves, and in its place rises something far more powerful: self-respect. Not the loud kind that demands recognition, but the quiet, unshakable kind that comes from knowing who you are and what you deserve. A person who walks this path does not chase what walks away. They do not wait in doorways, hoping for a return. They do not tie their worth to another's acknowledgement. Instead, they move forward, inward, upward, and they move with purpose. The Stoics taught that the highest good lies not in external praise, but in living in accordance with one's nature and virtue. So when someone withdraws, be it through distance, silence, or indifference, the person anchored in Stoic discipline does not react with desperation. They do not barter their dignity for attention. They do not abandon their values to rekindle what was never steady to begin with. Instead, they redirect their focus from what is fading to what is enduring their own development. They build, they grow, not out of spite, not to be seen, but because that is the duty of the soul, to evolve, regardless of who stays or leaves. This is the essence of true freedom, when the presence or absence of another no longer determines the quality of your inner life. A person who embraces this philosophy stops playing the role of the caretaker in someone else's emotional drama. They stop proving, fixing, or explaining. They invest that energy where it belongs, in the cultivation of their own mind, the refinement of their character, and the creation of a life that reflects their values. And in doing so, they become unshakable, not because they are untouched by loss, but because they are no longer defined by it. Eventually, the very person who once created distance will look back, not because you called for them, not because you waited, but because your absence speaks a language their avoidance never expected: stillness. It's in that silence that the truth begins to echo. The person who was once taken for granted is no longer there. The safety net they assumed would always catch them is gone. And the realization arrives not through confrontation, not through closure, but through contrast. You have changed, not for them, but in spite of them. You no longer orbit their moods. You no longer bend to their absence. You no longer shrink to make room for their fear. And then one day, often wrapped in nostalgia or loneliness, a message appears. A simple line, carefully casual, "Hey, how have you been?" But make no mistake, this is not an innocent gesture. It is a test, a probe, a quiet knock on a door they once closed without care. And here, the Stoic remains unmoved, not cold, not bitter, simply aware. They do not rush to reply to soothe or to reignite what time and truth have already exposed. Instead, they pause, they reflect. They ask themselves the only questions that matter now, not, do they want me back, but have they truly changed? Does this add to my peace or threaten it? Will I trade what I've built for a cycle I've already outgrown? Because by now they understand something. Most people spend years trying to learn that not every invitation deserves a response, that not every return is a restoration, and that not every past connection deserves a future. The Stoic does not seek revenge through silence, nor triumph through rejection. They simply honor their clarity. They remember what it took to become who they are now, and they do not betray that growth for a fleeting moment of attention. The goal was never to make the avoidant regret walking away. That is far too small of an aim. The true victory lies in becoming someone for whom that regret no longer holds any meaning, someone who no longer waits, who no longer hopes, who no longer asks, "What if?" because the answer has already been found, not in their return, but in your rise, not in their change, but in your choice. The choice to protect your peace, to prioritize your path, and to never again hand your self-worth to someone who treated it like an afterthought. This is how the cycle ends. Not with drama, not with revenge, but with quiet power. The kind that turns your back on what once broke you, not in anger, but in understanding. And when they look back now, all they will see is distance, not punishment, not silence, but peace, a life no longer waiting, a soul no longer aching, a person no longer available, and that above all is what they never expected. 4. End the game. Win by walking away. There's a quiet paradox that dwells within painful relationships. You cannot win a game that should never have been played. And in the realm of emotional avoidance, this game is insidious. It disguises itself as love, but thrives on imbalance. The more you chase, the more you lose. Not just the person, yourself, your clarity, your peace. And yet the person grounded in Stoic strength does not play harder to win. They win by not playing at all. A healthy connection at its core is not something you secure through performance. It is not earned through proving your worth or pleading for consistency. If you must barter your self-respect, suppress your voice, or carry the entire weight of closeness just to be tolerated, you are not in love. You are in captivity. And what feels like love is often something else entirely, an addiction to hope, a distortion of duty, a fear of facing your own solitude. The Stoic recognizes this trap for what it is and walks away not out of pride, but out of principle. The avoidant by nature thrives in ambiguity. They keep the connection just alive enough to feel wanted, but distant enough to never be truly known. And for many, this becomes a silent torment, always wondering, always waiting, always trying to decode silence as if it held the key to their worth. But this is exactly where strength is forged, not in chasing answers, but in stepping out of the question, not in trying to change them, but in choosing to change course entirely. Power, real power, does not reside in control over others. It resides in the ability to choose how you respond, to choose when to engage and when to detach. The person who walks the Stoic path does not measure their value by who stays or who leaves. They do not build identity on someone else's approval. They know that if love comes with conditions that require you to shrink, bend, or beg, it is not love, it is bondage. And no matter how alluring the promise, the price is too high if it costs you your integrity. The secure individual does not collapse under the weight of rejection. They do not retaliate with bitterness or beg for return. They stand in acceptance, not because they feel nothing, but because they understand the nature of what is beyond their control. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The one who walks away with grace, with composure, with purpose, that is the one who wins. Not because they outmaneuvered the other, but because they never let the other define their movement. When you stop engaging with the avoidance cycles, when you no longer reply with urgency, no longer explain yourself, no longer wait in emotional limbo, a new balance is created, one where you are no longer trying to soothe someone else's confusion at the expense of your clarity. You stop interpreting distance as a puzzle to solve and instead see it as a mirror. Their withdrawal is not your flaw, it's their limit. And when you honor that truth, you set yourself free. And here's the twist. When you step out of the game completely silently without ceremony, the avoidant does not find peace in your absence. They find a hollow echo. Because the power they once drew from your presence, your patience, your pursuit, is gone. The gap they left open is no longer being filled. The validation they depended on no longer arrives. The comfort of knowing someone is always waiting has vanished. But the strong soul, the one who has embraced Stoic clarity, no longer cares about this outcome. The goal was never to make them regret leaving. That would still be playing the game. The real triumph is this: you now live in such truth, such alignment with your values, that even their regret becomes irrelevant. You no longer shape your peace around their behavior. Their silence does not unsettle you. Their return does not excite you. Their absence does not define you. Because you have chosen the one thing that changes everything yourself. You have chosen to stop explaining your worth, to stop waiting for recognition, to stop believing that your peace lies in someone else's realization. And that choice made in stillness and reinforced by discipline is where your true power begins. At the end of the day, the game ends, not when they come back, nor when they notice. It ends when you stop responding to what never aligned with your worth. It ends the moment you decide that love is not something to fight for, but something to be met in truth, or not at all. 5. Build a life so strong that regret no longer matters. So now the question returns not to them, but to you. What will you choose? Will you keep running in circles hoping that your worth will be seen if only you try harder? Or will you stop chasing what flees, step out of the chaos, and stand firm, quiet, and whole on your own? The Stoics remind us that dignity is not something others give us. It is something we guard with vigilance. The true triumph in walking away from an avoidant does not lie in making them look back, nor in hoping they regret it. That is still an act of dependence, a desire to be seen through someone else's eyes. No, the true triumph is when their gaze, their silence, their choices no longer hold any weight in your world. When your peace is no longer at the mercy of their confusion. You take your power back the moment you stop explaining yourself. When you no longer justify your presence or fight to prove your value to someone who could not see it clearly from the beginning, because someone who cannot meet you in truth has no business shaping your self-concept. You are not here to convince anyone to stay. You're not here to lower your standards just to be tolerated. The secure mind sees beyond approval and recognizes this one unshakable fact: your worth was never up for negotiation. When you stop participating in the exhausting back and forth, when you refuse to keep re-entering a story where you are always the one holding it together, you don't just exit the relationship. You step into your life again, fully. And that is the greatest power anyone can possess: sovereignty. To live without waiting, to love without begging, to exist without needing external permission to feel whole. That kind of freedom cannot be taken, only surrendered. And once you reclaim it, everything changes. You move differently, you speak differently, you choose differently, not out of pride, but out of clarity. You begin to shape a life rooted not in chasing what left, but in building what endures: purpose, peace, and principle. And that life, quietly powerful, deeply aligned, becomes your fortress, not to keep others out, but to ensure you never again lose yourself to what is unstable. And, ironically, it is at that point when you no longer need them, no longer seek closure, no longer leave space for return, that their regret begins. But by then, it doesn't matter. Because you have outgrown the need for regret to be your justice. You are no longer interested in their realization. You have become the realization. You no longer wish they'd change. You've already changed. You no longer need them to come back. You've already moved forward. Real love is not a chase. It is not found in games of absence and return. It is not a prize you win through endurance. Real love is a calm, mutual choice between two people who meet each other in wholeness, not in need. And when that kind of love arrives, it does not confuse you. It does not make you question your worth. It does not require you to abandon yourself to be chosen. So build your life, not in defiance, but in devotion to yourself, to your values, to your freedom. Let your focus shift from what walked away to what you are becoming. Let your energy be reclaimed by your own becoming. And when you do, you will see the only regret left will be theirs. But even that will be irrelevant, because you will be far too at peace to notice. Thank you for walking this path with me. If today's message helped you see things more clearly, even just for a moment, honor that clarity. Growth doesn't always begin with a loud breakthrough. Sometimes it starts with a quiet decision to stop chasing and to start returning to yourself. If this video resonated with you, feel free to subscribe so you won't miss what's coming next. Each new video is an invitation to deepen your strength, reclaim your peace, and stand rooted in who you are without apology. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your story, your reflections, or simply comment. Choose peace to mark the beginning of your shift. Your words might echo exactly what someone else needed to hear. And remember, real love doesn't ask you to prove yourself. It doesn't make you earn presents through sacrifice. It simply meets you open, honest, and steady. You are not too much. You are not hard to love. You are just done shrinking. Stay with this work. The next video will take you even further.